I always insist that I should be introduced with only one line. But I guess my secretary made a coup behind me and submitted something to the organizers. Thank you for that. Chairperson for the occasion, Mr. David Carter, the representative of the Volta Regional Minister, the executives of the executive officers of the Ghana National Association of Teachers Head Office, and I do acknowledge the rep of the General Secretary, the rep of the Regional Director of Education, other directors of education here present, the Regional Secretary of GNAT, and other officers here present. I wish to acknowledge all unions reps here, the TUC. When they were shouting away, I was wondering if I stand here, they would not ask me to also go away. But I thank you. But I admire her. She's a tough lady. Union job is not an easy one. The TUC, the concerned teachers, the nurses, and all other union TEU, and all other union reps here present. Heads of institutions and organizations present, all members of GNAT, dear teachers, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I wish to acknowledge everyone here present on the pre-established protocol, so no one is left out. My friends from the media, I bring you warm greetings from management, staff, and students of Who Technical University. I am particularly grateful to the planning committee and executives of GNAT for the rare opportunity to participate and also share my thoughts at this very special conference as guest speaker. I'm particularly elated to be the host of this conference because on one hand, I'm your landlord as well, at least for a moment. So feel free and enjoy the facilities that Who Technical University offers you. And those of you who are visiting here for the first time, we are one of the finest campuses in Ghana, and we encourage you. And we also have some of the finest programs that you can think about. If you want your walls to do things with their hands, their head and their hearts, please bring them here. We will take over from where you left, you will be leaving off, and then we'll transform them into skills persons that you can imagine what their future will look like. Thank you very much. Mr. Chairperson, if I have seen further than others, it is because I was standing on the shoulders of giants, as Isaac Newton has said it. Who are these giants? Of course, they are the teachers at all levels of education. Tell yourself you are a giant. But for those giants, will a village boy like me from illiterate parents stand here and be called a professor? No, it is the giant, the primary one teacher, the teachers along the line. They made us to be giants. And that is why, for me, I don't want to say it's a curse, but it's an abomination to look down on a teacher. If you do that, I don't think you will be forgiven. Because these are sins that I can say perhaps will be against the Holy Spirit that they talk about in the Bible. Ladies and gentlemen, the antecedents and various actions which culminated in the birth of GNAT as the sole representative body of teachers at the pre-tertiary level at the time, must be applauded due to the glaring achievement and priceless contributions to the growth, progress, and development of the nation. Undoubtedly, GNAT is a reliable teacher union that has survived over the years through good leadership, sacrifices, dedication to duty, and the efforts and contribution of all members and stakeholders. You therefore deserve a lot of plaudits for all your efforts. Congratulations, because for an organization to survive 90 years and still growing strong is no mean achievement. And so I wish to encourage you to begin to count your blessings, even in the midst of the 4%. Let's be counting the blessings. Because GNAT has evolved and GNAT has played significant role beyond even teaching. There are many people who visit the regional capitals today, and there's no other place they can pass the night apart from what? A GNAT hostel. So you are doing something beyond the ordinary. For you to be able to set up and even holding this conference in a very organized way is something we must celebrate. By my nature, as a teacher, I always like to give hope, because it is the hope that I was given by my teachers that have propelled me to where I find myself today. So in spite of the difficulties, let's begin to count the blessing and also continue to give hope. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are all aware, the theme for the conference is GNAT at 90, surviving as a reliable and vibrant teacher union in the 21st century, addressing challenges facing the Ghanaian teacher. The theme is critical and timely in an evolving world which demands innovativeness and new ways of doing things in order to survive and remain relevant at all times. As Jaya Ramachandran put it, people do not only talk about successes, they also talk about people who overcame their challenges and disabilities. In other words, as we face more challenges, the opportunity is offered us to design strategies to get around those challenges and propel our organization beyond imagination. The impact of GNAT. Ladies and gentlemen, the role of teachers in the growth and development of the nation cannot be overemphasized. As we sat here throughout the morning, it's been mentioned. Myself, yourself, even the teacher was taught by a teacher. So no one can downplay the significance of the teacher in the society. In fact, if Nelson Mandela, who put it that education is the most powerful weapon in nation development, then who are the people providing the weapon? It's the teachers. And that is why we are more powerful than the soldiers. You don't know. We are more powerful than the police. We are more powerful than anybody. And it's important that as teachers, we recognize our role as educators. And our impact is so widespread that we pride ourselves with the fact that there can be no president, ministers, lawyers, medical doctors, and teachers themselves and other professionals without teachers. They can boast, as somebody put it earlier on, but we taught them all. Certainly, GNAT stands tall in its contribution to national development. Some other notable contribution of GNAT include, of course, in finding out, I realized that they've constructed hostel facilities and they continue to do that. Guest houses, conference halls, establishment of mutual funds for the teachers, among others, as a source of raising revenue for the association. Again, the free cancer treatment initiative of NAF for its members ought to be commended. Let's give yourself a round of applause. It may not be you today, but tomorrow it may be somebody else. I saw this thing on telly and I felt very touched. These strategic initiatives, among many others, highlights your ingenuity and efforts towards supporting the welfare of your members and also epitomizes the overall impact of your enviable contribution to national development. Indeed, GNAT at 90 years deserves commendation. The challenges of the Ghanaian teacher. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenges confronting the Ghanaian teacher in the 21st century are known to all of us, and the greatest of it is the poor conditions of service. Delays in staff upgrades and promotion, complex bureaucracies in addressing staff issues, poor accommodation facilities, poor infrastructure facilities at some of the schools, low morale, transportation challenges, inadequacy of pension benefits, ongoing institutional reforms and challenges with the introduction of the licentiate exams, among many others. As a teacher myself, I fully understand the above-mentioned challenges of my fellow teachers and wish to indicate without any shadow of doubt that they can be resolved within the short to medium term if government and all stakeholders do the needful. And the needful that has to be done is obvious. And it's important that as GNAT, we get together to push and continue to push. For me, it is not about a percentage increment. It is about holistic overhauling of conditions of teachers in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, because it is becoming something in our society that perhaps for you to make it, then you must be a politician. I say no. To make it in life, it's not about politics. It's about the people who are contributing to the society for the politician to be managing. Because you have a colleague teacher, as soon as he turns an MP, every 4 years, end of service package to that person. If the person stays in parliament for 12 years, every 4 years he takes it. Every 4 years he takes it. Then the teacher who has taught people and brought all people out, go home with a pension, and sometimes you meet them at the bank and you don't know whether the money that is paid will take them back to their villages or not. We have to speak about this. That as we think about some other segments of society, we must look at all other people so that the national cake is fair to everybody, especially to the teacher because of the critical role that the teachers play in the life of every society. We must move away from the rhetoric and we must begin to act and we must begin to all talk about this. Today, you get to our airwaves. Nobody talks about the teacher. It's about politics. Nobody, it's wrong. It is wrong. You go to other countries that we all cherish to visit. They don't do that. The people stay on radio and discuss how do we move education forward in a particular way, devoid of politics. Today, when you open your mouth, somebody can say, oh, you are NDC or you are MPP. That is not the issue. The issue is how do we build a society for this country? How do we build this country so that teachers will be happy? Whilst nurses are happy, doctors are happy, lecturers are happy, politicians are happy, so that at the end of the day, we are all happy. Otherwise, if teachers decide to leave the classroom, what happens to our children? I thought that we have learned lessons from the coronavirus outbreak, where our children had to stay with us at home for a while. You saw parents crying. Oh, when is school reopening? When they said it was dangerous to reopen school, because of even the way they were worrying us at home, it wasn't easy. I thought by that time alone, it was a lesson good enough for people to begin to push for better conditions for teachers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is interesting to note that we live in a world in which award schemes for beauty pageants and reality shows are ridiculously better than award schemes for teachers. What happens on October 5th? Every year, October 5th, Best Teacher Award. How much are we, or how much worth have you placed on the teacher? Not only at the national level, but it must start from even the local level. Should we begin to support the teacher from the villages down up to the national level? Further, all key decision makers in the world with the mandate to positively influence and enhance our welfare and fortunes were trained and nurtured by teachers. But as soon as they get there, they forget about the teachers. This calls for some introspection on all fronts because a deeper understanding of the critical role of the Ghanaian teacher in the socio-economic and developmental issues of the nation ought to trigger quicker actions in addressing their concerns. Teaching is a noble profession, but it does not mean that we must be paupers. Teachers should not be paupers. Interestingly, it is often said that a teacher's reward is in heaven. In as much as this statement could be inspirational, it is silent on how the teacher should survive on earth. In fact, if you say the teacher's reward is in heaven, won't he survive first before he gets to heaven? In as much as this statement is inspirational because of the noble profession, the teacher also needs access to good quality healthcare, good food, decent accommodation, and appropriate, appreciable living conditions, among many others. And it's important that we cannot relegate this to the background for a reward which could be elusive, especially when going to heaven is not a preserve of only teachers. Reverend, it is not only teachers who go to heaven. So if the politician will also go to heaven, and he is better catered for, let the teacher also be catered for on earth before they get to heaven. Ladies and gentlemen, the challenges of the Ghanaian teacher in the 21st century have further been compounded by the global outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The poor infrastructure and ventilation system in some overcrowded classrooms exposes teachers and students to the spread of the virus and other airborne and contagious diseases. It will therefore not be out of place if government also considers teachers as frontline workers in the educational sector to benefit from some incentive. When the coronavirus broke out, yes, schools were closed down. So let's say justifiably, they thought about only the health workers. But right now, they are in school. The children, they are in school. The teachers are there with them. Some of the classrooms are so small. And the teacher also gets attacked by the virus. What happens to the teacher? If the nurse will go for insurance package or be given a tax-free, I'm sure if they give the teachers also tax-free, the salary will be a bit more appreciable. So I'm urging the Ghana National Association of Teachers. These are the things for me that you need to put across. It's not about 4%. It is about some of the holistic things that can better your lot a little bit more. And it is justifiable. Somebody said the teachers are no longer even having vacation. And it is true. Because it's like back to back to make sure that there is no backlog of in the educational system. We appreciate you for this. But then there must be something to put on paper, no matter how little it is, to show that, yes, the teacher is also a frontline worker. It's very important we do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, indeed, the gradual change in the trajectory of the coronavirus with an upsurge in active cases and related deaths in Ghana is a matter of grave concern, which cannot be downplayed in the times we live in. Finally, is the existence of splinter teacher unions in Ghana, which makes it difficult for teachers to confront their challenges with one voice. You see, it's good. The labor law permits proliferation of unions. But when the unions cannot agree, you know what happens in public administration terms, it makes it easy for the politicians to manipulate them. Because if NAT says yes, and NAGRA says no, concerned teachers say yes and no, I hear there's another one. Which one? Heart attack. Well, the point is, even in division, let's attempt to unite, so that whilst we recognize the various unions, it's important that the teachers have one voice when it comes to their condition of service. In some countries, we have only one teacher organization from beginning to the end, and it's affecting all of us. So if we can get together and talk about this, because whether you are in NAGRAT, you are in GNAT, you are in concerned teachers, and you are teaching students in a small classroom, you are likely to get coronavirus. Therefore, you should be recognized as a front line. Is that not true? But if they say it's so okay, maybe one of them say, we are okay. This person says, we are okay. Then it becomes something else. I want you to reflect on this, and it's a great challenge that we need to look at. But what is the way forward, ladies and gentlemen? Reverend Robert Schaller says that if you can't solve a problem, you must manage it. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, whilst we put the blame on the doors of government, government also cannot completely solve all the problems, like the issue of unity. Government will not tell you to come and unite. It's an issue we must get together and move on. When NAT decided to set up the teachers' fund, where when people retire, they have some additional package. Am I right? Additional package. It is not government-led, is it? You decided to do something for your future. And so it's important that within the economic limitations of government, they may not be able to do certain things for you. But it calls on all stakeholders and partners to contribute their quota to support the developmental agenda of NAT. The challenges may be seen to be daunting, but are surmountable. In fact, where there is a will, there will always be a way. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic has exposed the weaknesses in our educational system in the area of deployment and use of virtual and distance learning technology. Fortunately, the emergence of advanced technologies and use of ICT in enhancing teaching and learning in the 21st century is the new norm, which must be embraced by all and sundry. To this end, some refresher training programs could be organized regularly by NAT. Thank you. To build capacity, we can put it here. Thank you. To this end, some refresher training programs could be organized regularly by NAT to build capacity of members in the use of advanced technologies and ICT in the teaching and learning pedagogy. Today, you can't say that you are a teacher, you have been trained to write with chalk, so you remain like that. Today, teaching job has reached a different level altogether, and it is important that we update our skills. Further, there is a need to provide some appreciable incentives to the Ghanaian teacher. In fact, like the NAT Regional Secretary said, if you have signed documents to show that a certain percentage of salary must go to the teacher in a deprived community, don't wait for GES to tell you what deprived communities are. Can't NAT put in place a survey, very simple survey, to identify deprived communities and tell us that these are the deprived communities we have identified? If you have something to the contrary, bring it to the table. So it is important that we do this. Also, I wish to reiterate that a major source of raising revenue in the 21st century to support expansion and developmental projects and enhancing the fortunes and welfare of members is through strategic partnership. In this regard, I wish to urge the leadership of NAF to shoulder the responsibility of exploring funding opportunities and critical support for members by partnering with relevant institutions and corporations locally and internationally. Most importantly, I wish to also encourage you to foster unity among yourselves. In unity lies strength, and your collective strength could engender good progress and attainment of your collective goals with ease. In essence, you can achieve much if you remain united and focused on your core mandate. As Chairman has indicated earlier, it's important to unite. All teacher groups must come together and speak one voice. And when you speak one voice, there is strength in it. We must also look at our attitude and the value we place on ourselves as teachers. It is often said, what a soldier will do, the dance a soldier will do on the street, and people will clap for him. If a teacher performs that dance on the street, people will hoot at you, just because you are a teacher, and they expect certain behavior from you. This is important because we belong to a noble profession, so we must develop and implement strong professional ethics and standards. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to emphasize that education holds the key to industrialization, jobs, wealth creation, and poverty reduction. If you want to develop, the teacher and the educational institution remain the fuel to the machinery of development. I therefore wish to entreat government and all stakeholders in the educational terrain to support the efforts of GNAT and provide the needed intervention to improve the conditions of service and the general well-being of its members. Indeed, the Ghanaian teacher deserves better. As we celebrate GNAT at 90, I encourage you to reflect on the words of these anthems. God of our weary years, God of our silent years, thou who has brought us thus far on the way, thou who has by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever on the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Let our heart, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. This is the third verse of the KNUST anthem that I want you to reflect on. On this note, Mr. Chairman, I wish you all a successful conference and a memorable 90th anniversary celebration. I'm humbled by your invitation to present to you as a guest speaker. God bless you all. Long live love.